What's up, y'all? It's your boy, literally every other YouTube commentator here, and this is going to be the start of a brand new series on the channel called Venom Rants. It's right there on the tin on what this is going to be mainly about. So this video in particular, however, is Venom Rants about warehouse jobs. Ooh, job. I have worked 2 warehouse jobs, technically 3 if you count the transfer I did within this one company, since 2019. And I have seen and experienced a lot within that time frame. And if you're a warehouse employee, you might relate to this. So we're going to start this off with working on the floor and the types of coworkers that you will unfortunately have to deal with. When you're out on the floor, you will work with pallets a lot and using pallet jacks as well. Unfortunately, there are just some people who absolutely refuse to build a pallet right. Like, dude, how hard is it to put it in the right spot? Like, there are, tons of places on the pallet and on top of other boxes where it'll fit perfectly, and if you keep that up, you'll build a good pallet, and it won't fall over when you try to move it. There was this one time back in 2019, like late 2019 to early 2020 when I first started out, where I came across this one pallet, right? Where whoever built it put everything dead center, stacked on top of each other. Now, if you even just lift it up just a tiny amount with a pallet jack, it's gonna fall over. So what I did is I took it apart and rebuilt it. Before I rebuilt it, it was like 7 feet tall, like easily. But then when I was done rebuilding it, it was like maybe 3 feet tall. At that point, that is a massive difference in height. And it did not take me long to build it that way. Like, how lazy are you to have to do that when it took me maybe like a minute or two to fix it up? It's why? Why do you have to do that? And when you're like walking around on the floor, right? There are just some people that do not pay attention to their surroundings and refuse to do so deliberately. I'll admit it, I was one of those people first starting out, but I've gotten better. My head is on a swivel. Nothing is getting past me. And there are some people that literally move slower than a snail. It is ridiculous. And these people also don't get in trouble, and they're not elderly or handicapped in any way. They just refuse to put in the effort. Well, I'm here busting my butt, moving as fast as I can when I am in pain from working all day, and it's still not enough for the managers for some reason. Speaking of managers, I got biblical levels of beef with the managers at the company I used to work for. They're always like, oh, we're here to help you. If there's any barriers, let us know. If you need help with something, let us know. There was this one time, right? 2021, 2022, somewhere around there, before I moved out of my mom's place, I was having a panic attack because of a write-up. That should have never happened for my productivity, by the way. So I come up to a manager, crying, could barely speak, could barely breathe. And when I was trying to tell her that I needed help, she threatened to write me up again if I did not go back to my station that very instant. I should have lost trust in all managers at that point. But no, I was so naive back then that I only lost trust in her. And when I ran back to my station, while I was working, I nearly passed out. I'm not even joking. How can you go around in what world, day by day, saying that you're here for us and that you care about us and to reach out if we're having any problems or anything like that, when I get threatened a write-up when I am literally having a panic attack. And you want to know what's the worst part about that? I heard, like, days after that happened, that she was concerned about me. You literally threatened to write me up if I did not go back to my station, instead of letting me go talk to somebody and to help calm me down. You do not care about people. You are a monster. You're not even human at that point. You deserve to rot. And it gets worse. Yes, it gets worse. Before I found out that she, quote unquote, was worried about me, when she clearly didn't, I talked to her about the incident and how I felt and how unprofessional it was. You wanna know what she said? Oh, you should have just told me that you were having a panic attack. I literally could not breathe! Go to hell! I am beyond thankful that I don't see her anymore. She is not human. She is a monster. How she got hired into that position is completely beyond me. But then again, they hire just about anybody, regardless of their background. There is this other manager, long after I stopped seeing that monster, who had a problem with my hair. Now, the rules at my old company state that you have to have your hair above the shoulders, which I was doing. But sometimes the bun that I tie up slides down a little. And every other manager does not have a problem with it, except for this dude. He would tell me to put my hair up, and just so then he would leave me alone, I would comply. And eventually I got a hair clip so to hold it in place better. But here's the kicker. He would not say a word to any of the women that had their hair all the way down their backs. And the rule applies to everybody, regardless of gender. He was specifically targeting me because I am a man. And I've brought this issue up to HR and some of the higher-ups. Did they do anything about it? No! Of course they didn't! Because they're in on it too. The amount of favoritism in that place was unbelievable. No matter how hard I would try to do my job and to do it right at the speed that they wanted, it was never enough. But the chicks that flaunt their behinds and their chests, oh, they can do whatever they want. Some of this has to be borderline illegal, I swear. And like I said earlier, they say day in, day out that they care about our safety, when in reality, they don't. If you've worked in a warehouse before, you'll know that it is a loud, loud place. I have literal hearing damage from my 6 years of working because they didn't provide proper hearing protection. We didn't get like these dedicated like dispensers for earplugs until like my last 2 years of working for the first company. If you're working and one of those alarms goes off right next to you, you're literally gonna feel it in your ears. I'm not even joking when I say that. It is that loud. And they say, oh, there's nothing wrong with the sound. It's perfectly fine. It's within legal levels. It isn't. It isn't safe for our ears. While we're on the subject of safety, I cannot tell you how many times I've had nosebleeds because of how dry it is in that place and how dusty it is. And with how our productivity is measured, I literally cannot risk drinking water so that I can keep my productivity up and not have to go to the bathroom. And those are just my experiences, right? I'm going to touch up more on those later. But I have heard cases of a person literally losing their life while on the job and managers tell their coworkers to walk around their body. I cannot imagine the amount of trauma those people have experienced from that. The fact that this company hasn't went under from the amount of abuse they deal to their workers is utterly insane. And people have lost their life in my warehouse before. I didn't hear about it until later, but I have definitely heard about it. And unfortunately, some of those lives were by their own hand. And it's really tragic that, some of these companies push their workers that far. There is absolutely zero reason as to us being treated this way. We are the reason why you have your business and why you are making an ungodly amount of money. Treat us better or you're going to lose your business. Let's dial it back to the coworkers before we end this off, shall we? So there are some people that just refuse to use deodorant or take a shower. Yes, even these kinds of people somehow get jobs. It blows my mind too. Like, how did you not turn them away upon the first whiff of being within 5 feet of them? It is ridiculous. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you want to see more of this, hit that like, comment, subscribe. If you want to support me financially, buy my books. They're in the description below. But that's going to wrap it up. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you later.